Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. So this album review video is on Ministry's fourth album called "The Mind Is a Terrible Thing to Taste." It's the Ministry's first appearance on the channel. Um, Again, their fourth album. This album is pretty much Ministry at their height. Although I love um, Twitch and obviously Land of Rape and Honey, and then also 69 Palms. There's quite a few good albums earlier in their career, and to some, some people really like Sympathy as well, and that's a good album as well, in its own way, just more synth pop. But this is kind of, I would say, probably this album is not necessarily my favorite of theirs, although it'll be really close when I get done to rating them all. It's gonna be interesting to see which album I think is the best of Ministry. It's gonna be very close between quite a few, but I feel like this album is kind of their height of what they were aiming to sound like. I think Twitch has some experimentalism on it. Land of Rape and Honey is really close in a lot of ways, but this I feel like, and some to an extent maybe 69 Palms Psalms for the 90s is probably their most strongest straight rock album, heavy rock, hard rock, maybe a little bit less industrial on that album in some respect. But I feel like this is the balance that they were really kind of aiming for, and they really nailed it with this album. When the mix of guitars and beats on here, I don't necessarily think the beats are groundbreaking for the time. I mean, Skinny Puppy, which I love, and Front 242. I think they're much more creative when it comes to their beats and their rhythms and things like that. But Ministry couldn't be beat when it comes to their guitars and their layered guitars and their almost like heavy metal loops. Like they're so hypnotic. Like in the tracks "Breathe" and "Never Believe," they're so consistent, and I think that's what I really like about it too. They're not like shy about what the guitar loops are there. They're consistent about it, and it becomes so entrancing that it becomes it kind of evolves in its own way. It's almost like some things become so repetitive that they become, I guess, kind of maybe less, or you get used to them. I mean, first of all, but they may be less weird. Like if it's something weird and it's repetitive, then it becomes normal, right? Because you keep hearing it. Where a little bit like the almost heavy metal loops on some of these are where it's kind of like it's a little over the top, and you're like, but it still stays consistent, and it just wins you over, and you're like, that's so creative. It's really unique. There's almost like a slam dance, like you want to slam dance to like in Thieves, the first track. It's just like it's such a strong opener, and Al Jorgensen's voice is his usual sound, but it's really powerful. And I think probably my favorite songs are "So What" and "Burning Inside." I don't think that comes as a big surprise to anybody on this album. But I also really like "Never Believe" and "Breathe" as well is probably my third and my fourth favorites. Um, it's just like "So What," for example. I mean, just over 8 minutes. It's just the way the guitars almost meld into like a melodic sound is really cool. Um, the dream song at the end has a nice dramatic, eerie ending. Which is the instrumental track near the ending, which is a cool ending. As well. So it adds a little bit of variation there. I kind of wish it would have done a little bit more of that. Maybe begin the album or maybe throughout the album in some different ways. That's my only really opportunity for the album, and constructiveness for the album is maybe a little bit more atmosphere here and there. Could have built the drama a little bit more. And you know, like maybe like let's say Dream Song was the opening track and it was a little shorter. I think it'd be a really cool intro to this album. But it's a good. I mean, it's a better outro, but you know what I'm saying. Like you could kind of the same way Nine Inch Nails made Downward Spiral. Like it's not so much about the tracks that are that great, but it's also the segue into the tracks, the flow into the tracks, what's going on in between the tracks. Like if Ministry did that on this album, you'd probably have an all-time amazing album. You know, I just think like if they could have put a little bit of experimentalism in this and not so much straightforward, and kind of balance the two, it'd probably be the best of both worlds, and it could even be better. But you know, that would have been a not so much a difficult way, but like if they hired Kevin Key from Skinny Puppy to sort of do that in between the songs, but that would have been pretty awesome. I think just kind of build some atmosphere and maybe some unique kind of sounds to really support these amazing, powerful blend of industrial and hard rock music. Um, yeah, going to the tracks, the first track, Thieves, I give 3 stars. Burning Inside, just an excellent riff. 4 stars. I don't know how you can not give Burning Inside 4 stars. It's just kind of, I mean, it might be the pinnacle of hard rock industrial blend. You know, it's just amazing. Never Believe, 3.5 stars. Cannibal Song, probably my least favorite on the album, along with Test. Track number 7. I both gave them 2.5 stars. Breathe, 3.5 stars. So What, 4.25 stars. It's what can you say? It's just amazing song, amazing song. And it's amazing that it keeps your attention that for that long for 8.5 minutes. You know. Again, track number 7, Test, 2.5 stars. And then Faith Collapsing, 3 stars. And then Dream Song, the finale, I gave it 3 stars as well. So I got 29.75 stars divided by 9, which is a 3.31. I kind of bumped it up a little bit considering what it is, and I feel like even if that'd probably bring it to around like 76 or 77, but I give it a couple extra points today. I feel okay and strong about putting it into the 80s, and I give it a low 80 of an 80 out of 100. I feel like it is a genre classic in a way, not only for industrial, but probably even more so for the blending of hard rock and synthetic or industrial or what have you. It seems to be, and just Ministry in general is probably the most important ever to do that. Maybe along with Nine Inch Nails. To really put those two together. I'm sure I'm blanking on another name. But Ministry and Nine Inch Nails are probably the best at sort of blending the two, and considering that this might be the Ministry their top album, I feel like it needs to go in the low 80s. If Cannibal Song and Test were a little bit stronger to me, just a little bit stronger, even just being in the threes, I would probably push this even closer to 84, 85, and be in the middle 80s and be even a more solid genre classic. But as it is, I mean, if you ask somebody, and that's why I put 80s as a genre classic. If it's in the 90s, it's like an all-time classic. And really, what that means is if somebody wants to say, "Hey, can you give me a? I really like heavy metal, or I really like industrial. Can you show me an album that also blends in hard rock, or you're a hard rock fan and you say, oh, I want to get into a little bit of industrial, and like this is an album that you would proudly give to them, and it would be a great example for that genre. And I think that's when the rubber meets the road for my 80s and 90s scoring. Like when you give it to somebody and you say, here's an example of that, like it needs to be a really strong album. And this I feel like is on the low side of that, but still a genre classic that you could give to somebody, and it would be a great example of what you're talking about. And then if they like that, then you can delve into other stuff that's almost as good as just as good, or maybe a little bit lower, and see how far they want to go down the rabbit hole in that particular genre, right? But this is kind of one of those albums you give to somebody and you said, here's your gateway to industrial and hard rock. See if you like it, and if they like it, then great. If not, then you know you tried and you gave a good example, right? When I think of '90s, score of '90s and above, it would be somebody that has no idea if they like industrial or hard rock, or you don't even know what kind of music they like, and you're still like, here, play this. That would be like a '90s score, something you could say that to about an album that you gave a 90 score to. I don't lightly give away eights and nines. Like that's scores that I don't just hand out regularly because somebody else says so. Like I have to feel like I can recommend that to somebody else and stand by that album with my opinion, and feel that it's a genre classic, and also an all-time classic. I need to feel that. Otherwise, I'm not giving an album an 8 or 9, even as much as I might like something. You know, I can probably do that a little bit more so with the songs, and if there's something special that I like, and like, okay, I give the song 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I might do the same with that. I'd recommend that song like it was an 8, an album, but the rest of the album has to be good as well, as good for me to say it's in the 80s or 90s. But yeah, great album, really strong album. Could be the pinnacle of Ministry's talents and their music. Just they were just on a roll in that period. I mean, just a great 8, 9 years of even 10 years up to their following album after song was a Filthy Pig or something like that, all the way up through those through like middle '90s are the albums I know. I don't know so much the albums after that, so those are going to be some albums I'll have to check out and see if I want to review. But this is the first time them being on my channel, and yeah, really strong album. This happens to be one of the reissues they came out with, and I picked up all the reissues when they came out. Like it was like 2015 or 16 or something like that. I bought all first 5 of their albums. But yeah, that's my review on Ministries. The mind is a terrible thing to taste. Curious what your thoughts are, and what's your favorite Ministry album. All right, thanks a lot.